pressganger Ross from Harlequin Halls. He is a big deal.
Hello.
Hello. We're going to be going through his 50 points E. Haley list of Mercnar, because apparently running vanilla Cygnar is just not the way to go.
Yeah, Cygnar faction impurity is a piece of shit. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Alright, so just going through the list really quickly. We have E. Haley, we have a Lancer, we've got Centurion, a Stormclad, and naturally the Squire. We've got the Black 13th Gun Mages, maximum unit of Steelhead Halberdiers, and 3-man unit of Steelhead Heavy Cav. Have Anastasia di Bray, Eiryss, the Angel of Retribution, Gorman the Wulfe, Journeyman, and Rhupert Carvolo.
Cool. So you've said the entire list. That's all I'm here for. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, no worries. And GG. Thank you very much.
Yes. That's the list. First thing is the Stormclad is naturally the bonded warcheck. I got the core, sort of the core idea of this list from an Australian player, Robert Shepherd. He has some pretty interesting ideas on Epic Haley, and they usually revolve around Anastasia and Mercs. Yeah. So I can't take full credit for this, but yeah, I've basically made changes where I like them, and I feel it's quite powerful.
Apply Halberdiers. Apply Halberdiers. You have to understand that if there is a list that Ross is running that does not involve Steelhead Halberdiers, then something's gone wrong. Something's gone very wrong.
Or I'm playing Legion.
Yeah, or he's playing Legion.
Unfortunately, Steelheads do not work for Legion, but, you know, hopefully there's a theme for us one day. Like Damiano with, I don't know, Angelius's and all that crap. I love that. Oh my god. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's so good.
Damiano and Angelius. Oh,
Talk
god.
about a segue.
And anyway, on to Legion.
So, obviously, first off, it's Epic Haley, not Prime Haley. Quite important. I don't feel she needs Thorn, which is a character. It's a character Lance at Warjack for her. It's incredibly powerful, but I feel that running this style of Epic Haley list, you're already incredibly deep in support units. And what Thorn brings to the table is good, but for 2 extra points over a normal Lancer, I don't think it's worthwhile. He's got his reaction drive, which is after a spell's channeled through him, he can move 3 inches. That helps in keeping him safe, but that's essentially what Haley's feat is for. And if I'm worried about the Lancer getting sniped out, there's always the possibility of Arcade Shield on it. And the Affinity allows Thorn to have spells channeled through him while he's engaged.
Yeah. Those 2 points would probably be a really big deal considering, you know, your love of solos and the fact it's just like, okay, so you can have Thorn, but you got to drop either Rhupert or Gorman.
Yeah, I don't think it's worthwhile, but that's just me. I mean, the thing with Epic Haley, well, the first thing to say about her is there are just so many ways you can build her.
Yeah.
And this is the way I feel I can play her best. It's not necessarily the best Epic Haley list, because I don't think there is one. There are some that are more effective than others, but this is how I like it. And yeah, in this form, I really don't think Thorn's worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, so Centurion. Why do we have a Centurion in the list?
Centurion, so when I originally started Cygnar, I didn't have one, and I basically wasn't interested in it because I looked at it and I went, it doesn't really kill anything. And it's just too slow. It's speed 4. When it's max 6, that's not bad. It's not good. You know, it's power 18. But it just sits in the zone and doesn't get moved around. It just says, fuck you. Yep. You can't charge me. And for that purpose,
it's
the
really
only thing better in Cygnar for that is a Stormwall, and that can actually be charged. Which means, you know, Crix suddenly can take that down. Crix models not charging a Centurion, they actually have a bit of a tough time dealing with it.
Yeah, for sure. Ross generally plays the Centurion, like when you're playing in multi-zone games. He'll generally flood one flank, and then the Centurion will just kind of hang about on the other right at the edge of the back end of a zone.
Yeah.
And so I'll be running up with Mechanothralls and Baythralls going, whiff, 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 Jesus Christ, I can't kill this fucking thing.
Because even if you get into its back arc, I mean, it's armor 19. That's not great. Like, it's it's not great, but that's still fairly resilient. And it's got 30, off the top of my head, 32 boxes. That might be wrong, so don't quote me on it. But it's pretty damn tough.
There's enough there that you really need to dedicate stuff to it, and when everything else is on the opposing flank, it's just kind of, you're not really sure whether or not it's worth the amount of effort that it's going to take to get rid of it.
Yeah, and in a pinch, the Centurion can actually become an incredibly good beater because Haley's got access to telekinesis.
Yep.
So, effectively the Centurion becomes mad hitting something in the back. She's got access to Time Bomb, so another -2 death. She's also got, obviously, her feet to help position the Centurion if it needs to charge something for the next turn.
Yep.
And she's got temporal acceleration. So if you load it up with 3, give it temporal acceleration, it can walk up, do its initials by 3, and get a free attack from temporal acceleration. So it can actually be quite a good beater in a pinch.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's actually what the Stormclad's for. So, segue.
Yep.
Right. The Stormclad, to be honest, I never feel like it's worth it. But when I don't have the Stormclad in the list, I feel like the list is missing a beater. So it's a weird one. It's more of the Stormclad itself is the way I find it to play. It's often a threat piece.
Yeah.
Because it's bonded, so effectively it was +2 inches of movement. So effectively it becomes speed 7. It's got reach, so 9-inch melee threat range. Temporal acceleration adds another 2 inches of movement, so that's 11. It can then be telekinesis, that's 13. It can then charge, which adds another 3, so 16-inch linear threat range. And if you TK the enemy model you're trying to charge, it's effectively an 18-inch threat range. And, it takes a lot of effort to get that to happen, but the threat of that often forces an opponent to play a key piece very conservatively.
Yep.
And something like, for example, let's say I go up against Epic Kane. I mean, Kane doesn't really want to be close to that Stormclad. Yes, he can feat to remove it, but there's more important things in the list for him to worry about. But if he ignores the Stormclad and the rest of his army ignores the Stormclad, doesn't stop it, it's going to be able to possibly kill Kane because that thing's mat 7. It needs a 10 to hit Kane. If he gets hit once, he's dead. That's just an example matchup, but the threat of it often is quite powerful.
For sure. I do agree, though, with the point that you brought up earlier about it being quite expensive.
Yes.
I think I found that...
It is 10 points.
I think I found that pretty much in every single Cygnar list I've ever played against who run Stormclads that way. Wow, that's a really expensive piece that doesn't seem to really pull back its points. I mean, like, at the same time, it's a heavy jack. I don't really want to up in my grill, but, it's way pricey.
Yeah, so all of the list will actually, as I explain a little bit further down the list, suddenly all these things you'll think, they're okay. I mean, by itself, the Stormclad is pretty good. It's just expensive. But when you add in what the rest of the list can do with it, and Haley and what she does for it, it all starts to work together.
Yep.
Next thing on the list, obviously the Squire. That's a no-brainer with Haley. So,
no, man, I don't know what you're talking about.
The Squire gives +2 inches of control area. So Haley suddenly has a 18-inch control area. And having had my Squire killed early on, I can tell you it's huge.
Yep.
Haley being within 16 inches of stuff she wants to feed on versus 18. And the extra focus, honestly, is always amazing.
Yep.
And often I'm sitting there with 9 focus at the start of the turn, going, I need more.
Yeah.
So the extra one is always good.
Yeah, for sure.
So Squire's a no-brainer.
All right, cool.
Next thing on the list... I'll try and speed this up so you can cut that bit out there, whatever. Next thing on the list is Black 13th. Black 13th character unit of gun mages. There's 3 of them. There's Retard Watts, who gives prowl to the unit while he's living, which is always sometimes it's really, really nice with Gorman being able to put down smoke cloud. But, just a random stealth model sometimes can be a huge pain for some armies to deal with.
Yep.
But, I mean, that's just defensively. Black 13th offensively are amazing. I got 3 shot types each. Snipe, which is +4 inches of range, so they go to 14. Brutal damage, not crit brutal like the normal gun mages, so they're power 10 3d6s. They also have Black Penny, which is ignoring the in-combat penalty when shooting.
Yep.
So that's
huge.
Honestly probably the one I get the most use out of.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the key model in that unit is Ryan. She has 2 pistols, but rarely does she ever make 2 pistol attacks because she's got a special attack Mage Storm, which is a 4-inch AoE. It's a cloud effect and does power 12s to anything within it.
Yep.
So it's not blast damage, it's just straight power 12s. And it remains in play for a round, so magical power 12 damage rolls. The problem with Ryan is, at best, she usually gets 2 shots off.
Yeah.
Kaylee's feat often buys her another turn of shooting. And then the rest of the list often can keep her safe. Sometimes with this list, I've had Ryan alive at the end of the game, and that's usually 5 Mage Storms, and she will pay for the entire unit probably 3 times over if she gets to do that.
Yeah.
So basically the unit's all about Ryan, and then the fire beacon from Lynch's. It's corner case, but it's nice when you suddenly stealth Lilith or something like that.
Yeah.
It's nice. Right.
Utility pieces.
Next thing.
Steelhead Halberdiers.
Yes. Well, on their own, Steelhead Halberdiers are pretty good. They're cheap. They got reach, speed 6, pretty amazing. They die like flies, but that's what they're there for. Haley's deceleration, so +2 defense and armor
And
against
set defense.
ranged attacks. Is pretty good on them. They suddenly go to 15-15. So usually things aren't directly hitting them, and sometimes blast damage doesn't kill them. But I expect them to die. They're actually just in there. Reach models for her feet is often quite handy because you'll say to guys, you can't attack me, so you can either walk into closer to me or walk away, take 3 strikes. So they're just kind of convenient for that. But they're actually just flank models for the Cav.
Yep.
So the Steelhead Heavy Cav. There's only 3 of them. I really struggle to find room for a max unit, which I would love, but I'm not dropping the Black 13th, and I don't know, I just can't find the points.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're there. Basically, there's 2 roles that they fill in this list. There's the obvious one of being an anti-armor unit, because they are weapon masters when they flank. They're power 13 on the charge, so they'll be rolling 4 dice, power 13s on the charge, backswing for a 3 dice, power 11. But often what I'm using them for in this list is to clear out models engaging the Halberdiers. Ride by is probably the best kept secret in the game, and it's no secret. So just ride by forward, kill a dude who's being engaged by Halberdier, because they got reach. They're probably flanking what's engaging them, and the Cav can just clear them out, and then the Halberdiers can just dig further and further into their army.
Yep.
Which is another thing the Black 13th are useful for. They use their black penny shots to clear out things engaging Halberdiers, and that's basically the list. It's just Halberdiers slowly move forward, dig deep into your army. Haley's feet just kicks him in the nuts.
I think the heavy cav are very much the main beat stick in your army when it comes to, I guess, impressive damageness, with the exception of Ryan from the Black 13th.
Yeah, the Cavalry and Ryan. So basically, the Cavalry and the Black 13th are actually really the only models in my army that frequently make back their points.
Yep.
And this is a scary thing when you take a lot of support, is the models that aren't support. So
you've just got to really have a lot of faith.
The Stormclad, the Black 13th, and the Heavy Cav, really that's basically all the non-support. Yeah. They have to do a ton of work. But with the way Haley's feet works and the rest of the list, often they're able to do so.
For sure. Alright, cool. Now we get to...
Christ.
Okay, cool.
Right, so the next thing on the list is, I'll leave Anastasia di Bray to last, because she's probably the most important part of the list. Epic Eiryss, she's pretty amazing, for all the obvious reasons of being able to strip up keeps, defenders, ward and shit, always annoying. She's a fairly obvious one. Deceleration keeps her extremely hard to kill from range.
Yep.
She goes up to, with stealth and camouflage, she's 18-14 against range, which is pretty silly.
Yeah.
But she'll die. But I think everyone knows what Epic Eiryss does, so I'll just leave her there.
Yep, sure.
Gorman. Actually, I'll leave him to second last as well. Next one is Junior. Arcane Shield. We all know what he does. Actually, a problem with this list is, where does Arcane Shield get there? It's usually a matchup dependent thing. If I'm worried about the Lancer getting shot out, it's usually on him. If I want my beater to stay alive, it's on the Stormclad, sometimes on the Centurion, but usually it's on Halberdiers just to begin with, and just moves around from there.
Yep.
What have we got? Third last, Rhupert. If you don't know what Rhupert does, he's got 3 tunes he can play on his pipe. First one is Pathfinder. As you can tell, I think there's no Pathfinder inherently in this army besides Anastasia and Eiryss, or Eiryss, however the hell you want to pronounce it. His second one is Dirge of Mist. So +1 Death and Terror for target model unit. That's where the Halberdiers go to 16-15 against range.
Yep.
So they're quite hard to remove. And again, Arcane Shield can be on them. So there's 16-18 from range.
Yeah.
It gets a bit dumb. The final one is the most important one, is Tough and Fearless. There's no good command in this army. Off the top of my head, I might be wrong, Haley's command 8, and that's just not reliable enough. So, that's always handy to stop a unit from flaying by the cavalry. Occasionally they'll flee, and everyone will think, oh wait, they're out of the game for this turn. Nope, just Tough, Fearless, and then they charge back in.
Yep.
Alright, so the final nasty combo is Anastasia di Bray plus Gorman. I think most people know what Gorman does. Usually, I haven't seen Anastasia di Bray on many opponents' tables. Actually, aside from probably 2 Vassal games, I don't think I've ever seen her played against me.
Yeah.
That's good for me. She's amazing. Probably the least important thing she does is +1 to the starting roll.
Yep.
Epic Haley loves to go first because even though Steamroller 2013 has changed how easy it can be to score on some scenarios, Haley can still pretty easily snatch away a few points early and just ride that to victory, hopefully. What else has she's got? She's got Parry. Sorry, cut that out. Jesus Christ. It's like I got a dick in my throat. So the second most important thing she has is Parry, which is, well, that's probably the least important thing, actually. Ignores free strikes, fairly obvious. She's Speed 7 Pathfinder. The final and definitely most important thing on her card is Espionage. It's a special action. It's range 5. You target the enemy Warcaster or Warlock. If they're in range, all models within her command range of 8 inches, all friendly models / units, my apologies, can immediately make a full advance and one normal attack. Off the top of my head, I think it's normal. It might be melee only, but I don't think I've ever used melee for it. And you're like, holy shit, that's amazing with Haley's feat, because if you're lucky, you're able to espionage them on the turn that Haley feats, but sometimes you can't, and you can use Haley's feat to set up the espionage for next turn.
Yeah.
So you're adding what telekinesis can do to that. So Anastasia di Bray inherently, Speed 7, 5-inch range and espionage, 12-inch thread. TK Anastasia for 14, TK the enemy Warcaster for 16. So you can get some stupid stuff. She also benefits from her own espionage, so she can move away, which, oh god, that's just stupidly good.
Filthy.
And then you combo that with what Gorman can do. Gorman can benefit from this. I don't know why I was thinking. Espionage is a normal attack.
Yep.
Which means Gorman can throw a second black oil bomb. So Gorman does 3 things. In this army, he often just smoke clouds for Haley early on. If I feel it's an army that I can get an espionage against, sometimes you just can't. I mean, some Warcasters are just so far behind you can't get them. Then Gorman will just be a smoke bot. He's got a rust bomb, which is -2 armor for a warjack hit by it. It's a 3-inch AoE. That's okay. The army doesn't really have huge problems with armor tracking, and then the final one that's actually important, I never use corrosion bomb, so we'll skip that. The final one is blind bomb. 3-inch AoE, all models under it suffer blind, which is -4 death, -4 mat. Cannot make ranged or magic attacks for 1 round, and during the next activation, also cannot run or charge. And during the next activation, they must forfeit movement or action.
Yeah.
You obviously can't shake it because it's not knocked down or stationary. And sometimes with espionage, you can get 2 off in a turn, add in Haley's feat. So anything that's blinded under Haley's feat literally can't move and can't make any ranged or magic attacks. So unless they're in melee with it.
Yeah, they get.
Actually, no, even though they can't, because they forfeit their action. So yeah, if that happens,
they get to sit there for a turn and just go, oh wow, let's have a bat. Don't really feel like doing much else.
Yeah. And often you can just use espionage to keep Gorman safe. If you're playing against a low model count army, this list pretty much just bends it over the table.
Yep.
Because, especially one with a small footprint, and even more so when they don't have a huge base, So, say for example, I'm not going to say the name of the player, he won't be too happy. Some Scorn armies. I played against an Epic Hexeris list, and it was Bronzeback Gladiator, Kreia, Hexeris. I think there were a couple of other things. He had, Reavers, whatever. And I was on the scenario with objectives. And I think it was 3 turns in a row I blinded the Bronzeback.
Yeah.
The first turn I had Hexeris because of TK. I was able to get this off. I had Haley's feet on his entire army. I also had Hexeris, the Objective, the Kreia, the Bronzeback, and the Gladiator, all blinded because they'd got too close to the Objective, so I just TK'd them base to base with it. Gorman throws his blind bomb at a depth 5 Objective. He's got a good chance of hitting.
Yeah.
And I think that game actually, Anastasia died early, so I didn't even have espionage, but I could just blind over and over again because of how much TK can just bend people over.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Scorn hates it really badly because if their beast can't see something, they can't be whipped.
Yep.
Because then they have to charge and they can't charge something they can't see. So that's often good for keeping things alive. Like, for example, Arcane Shielded Centurion can actually survive a Bronzeback if the Bronzeback doesn't get whipped, which is rare. I mean, that will usually kill a lot of things, and it might still kill it, but it's going to take a lot of effort. So, yeah, the list is basically all about... the list... How do I describe the list? It's a weird one. It's got no real range game, which is a huge downside. That said, I have deceleration, and that, in a way, helps even up the range game.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, Balefrost don't give a fuck. They'll just kill all the Halberdiers, all that crap. They don't care that they're, Def 16 or whatever. They're just gone. It's basically, this army is all about espionage and trying to abuse it as much as possible. And often that will be 3 turns in a row, Gorman getting to throw 2 blind bombs a turn.
Yep.
Which is just so nice. Like, I can't even describe how good it is to just throw like 6 blind bombs and your opponent do nothing about it because they can't. They simply just cannot.
I think this list takes a lot of balls to play just because of the sheer amount of support units within, like the lack of beat sticks.
Yes.
You really have to put a lot of faith in them. But with all those support troops, when you actually look at it and think about it, you go, oh wow.
Yeah. So if you basically count up the points of stuff that doesn't really kill anything directly, you've got the Lancer. The Centurion rarely, if ever, kills anything. Obviously the Squire does not. Anastasia doesn't herself directly kill anything. Eiryss usually might kill 2-3 troops top a game. Like, she never actually kills much. She's just, picking off the random dude.
Yep.
Gorman never kills anything himself. He just blinds it. But, Junior maybe kills one thing a game with his hand cannon. Rhupert never kills anything. So it's really up to the Stormclad, Black 13th, and the Steelhead module to do all the work. But with all the moving parts of the army working together. So, like, in a wonderful turn, you have Haley's feet, you have TKs going off, you have a time bomb somewhere, and you have an espionage, you have double Gorman blind bombs, and sometimes espionage helps him get into range to blind something that otherwise he wouldn't be able to.
And it just looks absolutely filthy.
When it works, my opponents don't have fun, and sometimes that's... It's just so much fun to see someone hate playing you so much because you're just bending them over that hard. That's it.
Because it's very much like when this list works and you're playing against it, it's you don't get a choice of what's going on.
Yeah, basically it's you get bent over or you get bent over really hard. Yeah,
pretty much.
But the thing with E-Haley, and this is, I'm not the only one to think this, I know this for sure, is that as amazing as her spell card is, as amazing as all these synergies are, how good her feat is, if she gets into the late game and she hasn't done enough damage, that's game. Like, if she hasn't pretty much dominated the scenario, not literally in Steamroller dominating, but if you haven't got like 3 or 4 control points or kill a huge amount of their army, they can fight back because she's got nothing to help the game once you start losing the really key pieces. So if you lose Gorman, Anastasia, and eventually you lose the Lancer eventually. Once they're gone, it's really scary because you don't have any of that awesome shit. You just have I mean, you know, temporal acceleration and TKS is amazing, but when you don't have an arc node, you know, you can't arc onto this shit. So you're just TKing, allocating focus, and maybe a temporal acceleration somewhere. That's it. Like, it's scary.
We're gonna hope for the best. Oh, so any comments in closing regarding this list, and anything that you would like to, well, that you may have thought of in the future to swap up and change up in this that you'd like to perhaps try?
Yeah. So the thing about this list is probably the best thing you can say is it's actually against any Haley list, no matter what the build is. If you can grit your teeth through the feet and all the shit that happens, sometimes, you know, there's the Haley single storm or a double storm, or they usually don't have Anastasia and Gorman. They might, but it's rare. If you can just grit your through the feet, blah. How about my English is fucking good for a thing? If you can just grit your teeth through her feet and probably the turn after, and you're still okay, you've got a really good chance, because she's just all about this massive punch, and that punch usually lasts 2 turns. The best thing you can do against Haley, I would say, is to force her, if she goes first, is to force her to feet on her second turn, because often that means she's not actually going to be killing stuff on that turn. She's usually going to be running to engage you. If you get feeded on and they get a full charge on you, it's really hard to fight back from that.
Yeah. So
if you can force her to feet on the turn and run and engage, that's okay. But I mean, it's easier said than done with some lists. The double Stormwall list, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
All right, cool.
Oh yeah, and another list. So the other Haley list I'm playing, well, I've sort of I've played it a couple of times. I'm still trying to work out exactly, because I'm not entirely happy with it, is Haley Time Pirates. And it's basically you drop the Stormclad. Well, this is my version of it. You drop the Stormclad and basically Steelhead stuff, a whole bunch of stuff, and it becomes a pirate list. You lose probably the most important thing with Haley, in my opinion, is reach. The army has almost no reach, and that's pretty scary. But pirates can just dig so deep and just be incredibly hard to shift. And when you add in what Anastasia and Gorman can do with pirates, and
it gets filthy.
It's pretty disgusting. I think it's actually a lot harder to play, but that's what I've found with it. So I'm sure people have had much better experience with it than I, but I'm not set on how I feel her list. I just feel about 3 points short every time.
Yep.
And yeah.
What have you found any like major difficulties within this list? I mean, I would assume that from looking at it, it's a bit of a finesse list, because your order of activation matters a fucking lot.
Yeah. Probably the hardest bit probably is having a key piece taken out early, and sometimes that key piece actually the Halberdiers.
Yeah.
If you can get those I usually keep 2-3 back for late game flanking with the Cav, but if you can get most of them out of the way before I feed on you, that's really hard to push back from. That's probably the most common one. The worst is getting an Anastasia or a Gorman taken out early. Or the Lancer, God forbid, that's just the worst.
Yep.
But yeah, those 3 key pieces, if one of them goes, it's hard. It's real hard.
All right. Anything in particular that you would like to mention, I guess, as a positive way of signing off on this list?
I'll say it's a lot of fun to play. As I said before, there's so many ways to play Epic Haley. Again, there is no right way, there is no wrong way. There's just all these different ways you can do it. This is what I found works for me. There's another local who's absolutely 100% set on Haley single Stormwall. And he's actually a Cygnar infection purist. And I look at it and I'm just like, I guess that's not very good. But when I look at it, I go, that's not how I want to play. And it is effective. I don't think that's the way she should be played. But that's what I think. Opinions are like arseholes. So it's just each their own. If you are someone looking at playing Haley, don't feel mad about playing her, because for a while I actually did feel pretty bad about playing her, because everyone's like, oh god, she's so good, and she's OP. And actually she's not. Like, really she's not. She's not very fun to play against, but if you can make sure your opponent has fun, then that will,
table.
It'll make it a little bit more manageable. That said, I'm a complete dick, so no one ever has fun against me.
I don't know, if there's Helldivers on the table, I'm always in for a good time just watching your face.
Helldivers. Fuck off, Helldivers. Oh my god, why are they so good?
Alright, I think we'll call it there. I think we're pretty much good. Thank you very much, Ross, for going through. I'm sure we'll have you back again at some point to go through Legion once you actually work it out.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
More rambling, more rambling.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a guarantee. I mean, you talk to me, it's just you never get off the phone.
Alright, Keller.
See you.
If you enjoyed this video and don't want to miss anything coming out on the Ghost Channel, head on over to the official Ghost Channel Facebook page and like it. You won't miss a trick and get extra updates and progress reports not shown on YouTube. What's not to love? The link is displayed and is also in the video description.
You feel the clips like Pharrell. You will feel me. You will admire. Struggle, hustle,